Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the meeting of the Lowell City Council to order. Please join me in the council prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Roll call.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Council Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm requesting a moment of silence with darkened chambers for Roger M. Regan, Jr., a loving and devoted husband, father, grandfather. Mr. Regan was an experienced bricklayer, and he utilized that trade as a masonry supervisor for the city of Lowell, and also served as a building inspector for the city of Lowell. Well respected by his community, his colleagues, and his family. He was laid to rest this morning.
Thank you,
God
Council
bless.
Caulfield. Council Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for Cliff LaRich, a lifelong resident of the city, loyal parishioner of Sacred Heart, was a graduate of Sacred Heart Grammar School, served in World War II, and gave many years of service to the city and many charitable causes. He's survived by his wife, Rita, his children and grandchildren. Be sorely missed.
Thank you, Council Martin. May we all rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers. Thank you. May they rest in peace. Again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The first order of business, we have a presentation this evening. Deb Belanger and a number of her board members are here this evening. Deb, as you know, is the Executive Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and she's here this evening to give the annual report of the Visitors and Convention Bureau. So the chair recognizes Deb Belanger.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, Mr. Manager. As you know, my name is Debbie Belanger, and I am the Executive Director of the Greater Merrimack Valley Convention and Visitors Bureau. I live at 65 La Plume Avenue in Lowell, Massachusetts, in the proud section of Pawtucketville. I've had the privilege of working for the CVB since 2000, under the leadership of the Board of Directors and our Board Chairman, Representative Tom Golden. Before I give our recap, I wish to introduce the folks here supporting the CVB, in particular, our Board of Directors. We have Tom Golden. We have Joey Tatula, who is the General Manager of the Lowell Courtyard. We have Dick Rourke from Ricardo's. We have Tim Bowman from the Spinners. We have Emily Byrne from UMass Lowell. And we have Steve Dolan from Enterprise Bank, as well as one of our members, Maxine Farkas from Western Ave Studio. The budget process is a challenging time for any organization, but I'm sure it's compounded for the city. We ask you tonight to continue investing in the city of Lowell by investing in tourism development and promotion. An investment in tourism reaps rich rewards for the city of Lowell residents, businesses, and its economy. According to the Department of Revenue, the local room tax generated in fiscal year 2009, which was just released for the city of Lowell, was $280,000. While this was a decrease of 4% from the previous year of $292,000, these results encompassed one of the most worst recessions we have endured since the 1930s. Places like Las Vegas, New York lost double-digit revenues, according to Smith Travel Research. I want to thank the city for their past investment in tourism and would like to share with you how this investment continues to pay off. In 2009, convention and group activity spending exceeded $3.6 million in the greater Lowell area. As you know, some of these events included the Colonial Classic, the Order of Eastern Star, the Quilt Festival and Conference, International Dance Competition, Monadnock Police Training Council. With the change of ownership and the loss of inventory in the downtown hotel available to us for convention activity during the school year, the CVB made a strategic decision to focus on the sports market. We created a Lowell Sports Council consisting of Lowell High School, UMass Lowell, the Spinners, the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, Lowell Courtyard, Cobblestones, City of Lowell Special Events, and ourselves to attract more sporting events to the area. In addition to our annual 2010 Colonial Classic, the city hosted the Synchronized Skating Eastern Championships, the New England Youth Wrestling Championships, and just last week, the U.S. Rowing Northeast Junior Division Championship. That event brought over 2,000 athletes and thousands of families, friends, coaches, college recruits, officials, and spectators to the banks of the Merrimack River and into the hotel and restaurants in the Greater Lowell. Due to the overwhelming success, we will be submitting bids for the Masters Rowing National Championships and the Scholastic National Rowing Championships. The CVB's partnerships and contacts are woven throughout the fabric of Lowell and well beyond. We help make things happen. Repeat convention business indicates we are doing something right. It goes to the quality of the visitor experience and the leadership of the CVB. Movies are big business too. Who can forget that The Fighter, featuring Lowell's very own Mickey Ward, was filmed in the city and brought with it $2 million in economic spending, not to mention Mark Wahlberg and Christian Bale. This film meant over 37 hotel rooms utilized, location rentals, food, beverages, limos, tents, nights on the town, paints, supplies, parking, security, city services, and a whole lot exposure for the city. The CVB helps its partners, including the city, extend their marketing resources locally, nationally, and internationally through our integrated marketing programs geared to the consumer, group tour planners, meetings and convention planners, and event right holders. This is accomplished through public relations, print advertising, web advertising, social media outlets, YouTube, news and feature article placement, trade show attendance, exhibits, and a comprehensive visitor services program. Our network reaches far and wide to market Lowell's many festivals, the Discover Lowell series, Lowell Open Studios, Doors Open Lowell, Lowell Celebrates Kerouac, the Lowell Summer Music Series, the City of Lights Parade, Western Avenue Studios, the museums, the galleries, Lowell Memorial Auditorium, Tsongas Center, MRT, Spinners, our dining destinations, restaurant showcase week programs, and much more. We launched Facebook and Twitter at the end of January. In less than 4 months, we have amassed 600 fans and 162 followers. We produce 2 custom videos a month centered on local events and member spotlights, from a Winterfest preview to Great Plates to Doors Open Lowell to the U.S. Rowing Championships. We engage the scores of potential visitors to the Merrimack Valley and the city of Lowell every week on Facebook and Twitter. Our posts get retweeted all over the country, and the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism is a frequent promoter of our events on their Facebook page. Social media is just not another way to broadcast our events. There are over 400 million people on Facebook, and friends, not search engines, are the trusted source. On Twitter, we engage artists in Western Ave studios, downtown business owners, and folks across the state. We have launched several successful contests, giving away tickets to the Soup Bowl competition and Grape Expectations solely on Twitter. By joining the conversation, the CVB is seen as a trusted leader and one of the most competent sources of tourism and culture in the social stream. The CVB serves as the fiscal agent for 2 well-known events. Over $89,000 has been raised for the City of Lights Parade since the CVB undertook the fiscal management role and established a dedicated fundraising committee made up of local businesses and the Chamber of Commerce 4 years ago to support this event when this event wasn't going to happen. Due to the support of many businesses, Winterfest just celebrated its 10th annual event. The fundraising efforts by a dedicated committee, including the CVB, over the last 5 years has exceeded raising $1.3 million, even in this tumultuous economy. The CVB has offered guidance and expertise to cultural institutions and event organizers on the how-to of fundraising and marketing. We provide our partners at both Middlesex Community College and UMass Lowell an opportunity to offer their students an internship at our organization. And trust me, it's a win-win for both organizations. Our dedicated group of ambassadors are second to none in welcoming our visitors each year. In 2009, over 1.5 million visitors came to Lowell's festivals, events, and attractions. That doesn't include the number of people that are dining in our restaurants and who are staying in our hotels. No organization is more critical to the economic health of a community than one that promotes tourism. Travel is in the top 5 major industry sectors, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. In Massachusetts, the importance of tourism is even greater. It's the 3rd largest industry in the Commonwealth. Tourism is and will continue to be a critical part of the economic recovery. Lowell is known around the Commonwealth for its can-do attitude and the ability to work together. We certainly understand the challenges that the city faces, that the Commonwealth faces, and that each and every taxpayer faces. However, we cannot undo all that we have done to enhance Lowell's image as a destination city around the world. We must continue somehow on the same path to keep the momentum going and find the funds to support tourism in the city of Lowell. When you consider the added value the CVB brings to city endeavors, the partnerships, organizational support, and direct economic benefit, I hope you will agree that your tourism investment is a wise investment. Can you believe what could be accomplished if that investment was reinstated to previous levels? Thank you for your time and attention this evening. Mr. Mayor, I don't know if any of my board members would like to say a word.
It's up to Mr. Rourke. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. My name is Richard P. Rourke. I'm a resident of the city of Lowell. I live at 58 Prescott Street. I own two businesses in Lowell. I own a restaurant called Ricardo's and a wine and cheese shop called Tutto Bene on Prescott Street. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, distinguished members of the City Council, as a member of the Board of Directors of the CVB for the past 10 years, I have been very proud to serve with such a cohesive organization, a group of people that have done a lot for the city of Lowell. I'm here today asking you to support reinstating the funding to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. The organization is a tribute to the city, and I wish everybody in this room had had the opportunity to experience what I experienced this past weekend. As Deb Belanger said, we had the Northeast Regional Rowing Championships, high school championships here in the city. On Saturday evening, my restaurant was jam-packed. On a typical Saturday night with a downward spin in the economy, it was a pleasure to be able to have a restaurant full of travelers and people participating in this rowing event. I took the opportunity the following day, Sunday, to go up to the river, along the river, and walk with my wife up and down. We spent a good part of half the day, and it was so wonderful to see 2,000, better than 2,000 young male and females participating in a sporting event, having a wonderful time, and not witnessing kids that would be involved in drugs. These kids are put their heart and soul behind this sporting event. I talked to a lot of the participating rowing organizations. They enjoyed being here in Lowell. They enjoyed the venue. They enjoyed the river, the Merrimack River. This event was held in Worcester last year. They would like to come back to the city of Lowell because of the viewing aspect of the rowing event along the Merrimack River. So I ask you to consider restoring the funding to the CVB because the CVB is a vital contributor to the economy in the city of Lowell. I thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you will reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the Chair, Representative Golden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and through you to the manager and the city councilors. I just want to say thank you very much. Like many of you, I understand the challenges that you're under, and what we are here from the Convention and Visitors Bureau is just to say we truly believe that we are part of the solution to try to turn this economy around. We continue to try to bring new people into this city, heads and beds, which is obviously helping out some of the businesses throughout the area, and try to bring that tax revenue that is so needed to this area. So I know you're all under a very, very tough financial situation, as well as from the state perspective. But I just want to say thank you very much for taking time to listen to our concerns, and if there are any other questions, we'd definitely like to entertain any of them. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Golden. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a question. I have some compliments, though. Deb Belanger, the Executive Director, and the Board of the CVB. I've been at many, many functions, as you well know, Mr. Mayor. When you're the mayor, you're really out there. And I witnessed the dedication, the professionalism, but more importantly, the experience. When you bring in Hollywood movie stars into this city, they were kind of skeptical. But that skepticism only lasted a short time. The CVB and many others just joined them, made them feel comfortable. They made a great movie. As Deb indicated, it brought in $2 million into the economy. But whether it was the Fighter movie, or the Colonial Classic, or the Bay State Marathon, the dedication was there. I witnessed it. And after the Bay State Marathon, I went up to the Owl Diner, and the Owl Diner was just full of people. Full of, not runners, but people who came into the city, and I imagine the runners soon followed. But the CVB does a tremendous job promoting the city, promoting the economy, and I've witnessed it. And I know many of my colleagues have as well. The Gentleman's Songs is at the auditorium, a local group of men who love barbershop quartets, and they bring 2,000 people into the auditorium. So it's working, and I want them to continue to do so.
Thank you, Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Elliott and Councilor Mercia.
I don't know if this is, pardon me, to Representative Golden or Deb Belanger, but what is the total budget of the Convention and Visitors Bureau?
The total budget from the city and the state side?
Our budget was extremely decimated last year. We went from $540,000 from the state to $133,000, and we were cut from $100,000 from the city to $50,000. Overall, we raise additional funds through various programs through our members. So overall, our budget is probably about $500,000.
So the difference between those two numbers is what you raise privately.
I'm sorry.
The difference is
The
what you
difference is raised through private
okay.
funds, whether it's co-op programs with partners and members, membership dues, revenue from other programs that we do that have to do with marketing. For example, last year we did our first ever restaurant showcase week in the city of Lowell. We had close to 20 restaurants participate. We put in seed money of $4,000 and we raised $16,000 of the other funds to put that program on through private donations with various companies that were associated with the restaurant establishments, CM Adams, Hammer and Sickle, Martinetti, people like that, because as you know, we raise a lot of funds for different programs, and you only hear about, the citywide festivals. You don't hear about the funds that need to be raised for Discover Lowell, Open Studios, things like that. But yeah, there's a lot of private dollars raised to do some of these programs. So,
thank you. You've answered my questions. I just wanted to echo some of the comments about the U.S. Rowing Championships. I happened to spend some time this weekend, Saturday and Sunday down there, and it was really an eye-opener to have all of these individuals I saw and spoke to people from Norwalk, Connecticut, Greenwich, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, all over the place right here in the city. I did see the Lowell High School, one of your staff members was down there, Mr. Manager, selling some stuff. But I know the chamber had a small tent, but maybe in the future, if we do get the Masters or some other rowing championships, it might be a good idea to have a tent, whether it's, I don't know, Convention and Visitors Bureau or the Downtown Businesses Association, or maybe our downtown coordinator, because people were literally asking around for a restaurant. So just a thought, but it was a wonderful venue, and to have so many people come from outside the city right in, and they're staying over because they're usually 2-day championships. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We can actually again thank Representative Golden and the state delegation to make sure that rededicated Bellegarde boathouse was renovated, and we were at the opening ceremony on Friday, and it was really very well attended, and kudos to everybody involved. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, I was one of the councilors that supported the meals tax to raise it 0.75%. I was one of those people, and I did that because I felt that I wanted to make Lowell a destination city and not just say the words, but make it happen. We made it happen through different venues like the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, the MRT, the Convention and Visitors Bureau is a part of that as well. So it's only right that we support one of the tools, and I'm going to say tools because this is the group that brings the people in. I happen to be going to Notre Dame to a tea on Sunday for the medallion reunion, and I happened to see all those rowers there. It was unbelievable to see the river being alive with people. It was alive, and when it's alive, it flourishes into the city, and they go to places like Riccardo's Trattoria. They go to the different venues, the restaurants, the Mambo Grill, and things like this. So it's one hand feeding the other to revitalize our city. So I can't say enough about all the things that they dream of to bring in synchronized skating and movie stars. Oh my goodness, and we get an opportunity to be in a movie. When can that ever happen? So it's exciting, and so I fully support it, and I hope we can restore it and keep this a flourishing CVB. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Any other questions? Mr. Chair recognizes the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question for Deb and for Representative Golden. Looking at your numbers, obviously it has been a couple of questions. It has certainly been a serious cutback, and so just a couple of questions. Any possibility that the state is going to be adding additional funds to the
We
visitors
are
bureaus?
advocating daily. Just with regarding the budgets, the House did increase the Regional Tourism Council line item. As you know, this Convention and Visitors Bureau is one of the 13 in the state of Massachusetts, legislatively approved. The House did put in $250,000 more into that budget, but it is a competitive process. I mean, so it is up to $2.5 million. I mean, this CVB, there's a huge formula that's used. It's based on Department of Revenue figures. It's based on visitor spending. It's based on your marketing plan. We typically fall in at number 4. Boston, obviously, gets the biggest chunk of the money, followed by Cape Cod, followed by Worcester, because Worcester is covers 56 towns and communities, and then the Merrimack Valley. So we have advocated to the Senate side. That budget, as you know, is due to be released tomorrow. We're all hoping for positive things. Last year, the House and the Senate they reduced us, but they didn't reduce us that drastically. It was the 9C cuts that came in November that totally, wiped us out. We went from, 3 full-time employees to 1 full-time employee, and you're looking at her. We're very lucky because we do utilize our ambassadors. My mother comes in every Tuesday and answers the phone. Other ambassadors come in and volunteer their time. We utilize Middlesex, but you do the best you can, but the things that we could accomplish with increased funding to do increased programming and to get our staffing level back is phenomenal. I mean, I look at the numbers. I mean, it's going to be even more challenging, I think, this coming year, but we need the funds. As a resident myself, tourism is important to me.
Along those lines, in terms of the funding, when the CVB serves as fiscal agent for the Winterfest and for the the City of Lights event, that goes towards the money raised for that goes to get matching money.
Yes, but you only need to match what you're getting. So the fact that we received $133,000 this year,
Oh, okay.
all I needed to match was
So
133.
by going over,
You know, they look at that, but in this economy,
okay.
I have to tell you, we've looked at the numbers. My board, I have the best treasurer, David Wallace from the Lowell 5 Cent Savings Bank, and we looked at the numbers. It probably cost me $10,000, not me personally, but the CVB, $10,000 to act as the fiscal agent for Winterfest, because it's not just calling and making phone calls. It's invoicing. It's making sure that everything that we promised people is up on the website, that they've received their tickets, all of that. I'm still making collection calls from this past Winterfest. We do a complete accounting, so $10,000 is our cost to the CVB, and that is not, you know, that is...
If that money wasn't, if the CVB was not the fiscal agent for those events, that would that jeopardize you receiving that $33,000?
No, because again, we raised $500,000.
Okay.
We raised $500,000, but I think that would be a really big mistake.
Oh, I'm not suggesting it.
Not to have the, because of the fact that we got the process down. We've been doing it for 10 years. As a matter of fact, there's, close to $30,000 in reserve funds for next year because of the fiscal management.
Okay, the final couple of questions. In terms of, Worcester's 56 communities, the CVB out there, what's the Merrimack Valley?
28.
28.
Yeah.
And how many other communities? Is there any possibility of other communities stepping up and contributing money?
We've reached out and...
Because right now, there are no other...
No,
Okay.
no. Although I did present to the Lexington Selectmen, and the Lexington Selectmen gave the Lexington Tourism Committee a $15,000 warrant for their tourism marketing, and they use that money with some of the programs that we do. So Representative Golden and myself have gone to the local communities because we think it's important, and we do appreciate what, the city of Lowell continually invests in tourism and in cultural development and, all the other things, because you see the lists that we talked about tonight, and this is what makes Lowell a great city, is the amenities that we have.
Okay, thank you. And if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank Representative Golden and Deb Belanger and the members of the Board of Directors for coming this evening and giving the update in the annual report, and obviously challenging the council going forward as we get into our budget deliberations. So thank you very much for your time and support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilors, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next order of business, it being after 7, is a public hearing. What I'd like to do is actually read the notice of the public hearing, and then I'm going to ask my colleagues to recess the public hearing until June 8th. The city solicitor has requested that we recess till June 8th. So in city council vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to notify the owner of a certain property that a public hearing will be held pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 139. Chair would like to open the public hearing and then entertain a motion to recess until June 8th.
Motion to recess.
Motion to recess by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor of recessing, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Correct. I'm sorry, Dave? Okay, Mr. St. Hilaire, if you'd like to give the council an update and the reason we're recessing until June 8th, that would be appropriate at this time. Thank you.
This building has been vacant for about 14 years, and it's really been a problem. And the owners have just recently been into City Hall trying to process the paperwork to demolish the building. And I expect them in any day now with the permit and work to start very shortly.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. St. Hilaire? Thank you. The public hearing has been recessed to June 8th. Next item would be to accept the minutes of the May 11th meeting. Motion by Councilor Dakota, second by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Moving on to the city manager's portion of the agenda. Communications, motions, requests. Anybody have anything for the city manager this evening? Councilor Mercia?
If there's no discussion on things that were in the packet, I would like to entertain a motion to suspend the rules. Just ask the city manager a question about a previous issue about the police garage.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Mercia. Is there a second by Councilor Dakota? All those in favor of suspending the rules for the purpose of asking for an update on the police garage signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Chair recognizes Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I know it's not on the agenda. I know that we haven't heard much about it, that we did hear that a building on Meadowcroft Street was, looked at and probably almost approved, but for some reason, it was a little bit out of our range. So the last I heard, we were gonna do take our building on the Boulevard, which is the water utility building, and try to refurbish that or whatever. That's the last I heard about that. Right. In the meantime, there have been people that have called me, whom I don't really know, and said, well, what about this suggestion? Or I own property in Lowell, we'll let the manager and the police chief take a look at it. I don't even know what property the person's talking about. I referred that to you. But in the meantime, someone else came forward with a past property that was in the mix or whatever, and they would give a better bargain. I don't know where we're going with it, and I don't know what the report of progress is, but it's almost like they have another offer. I don't know what to say, but I'd just like to know, where are we going with it? Have we decided? Can we open up the bidding again? Can people be notified that we're opening up the bidding, and perhaps what they had offered before would be even more reasonable now? I'm just the person that they're reaching to be like the conduit for this to happen. I don't even know. It's not like I'm saying, oh, there's my friend down the street, but we're getting that person. I'm just trying to, open this up to see
Mr.
where we're
Manager?
going.
If I could, Counselor, it isn't on the agenda, so I don't have a full report for you.
Well,
but
I'm
let me
not
give you sort of
asking for that right
let me
now.
give you an update. The update is, as you described, that we had put it out to bid, and the pricing that we received we received two bids. They weren't that different. One was more qualified than the other. One was more in keeping with what we were looking for. And it was going to be a cost for the 3-year lease of about $450,000. It was our opinion that was, we did some comparison to what some private parties were leasing similar space for, and essentially we were finding that we would have been paying double, about double what the private sector is paying for that type of space. So we made the decision that instead we would reject all of those, and we would simply build our own building on a piece of city-owned land. The site that we identified was the water department property over on the Boulevard. We're in the process right now of evaluating or preparing specifications for that project. But coincidentally, and interestingly enough, I've also received a couple of people that have made inquiries as to whether we might be interested in leasing from them or buying from them.
That's right.
And they've given us some interesting prices. This is a lot's happened within the last week or so. So we're evaluating those now, and there is the possibility that we may go out to bid again. Sure. We may, instead of leasing, we may go out to buy, and we may, do it in a different manner. If we find a piece of property that's exactly what we're looking for, we may look at a procurement in a different manner for that. But we haven't, if you do, you shouldn't have to be a conduit. They can call me directly. They can call the purchasing agent, the procurement director directly, and we'd be more than happy to talk to them. And hopefully we'll be making a decision within the next week or so along those lines, and I'll be happy to get
Okay.
another report to the council at that time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Moving back to the regular agenda, I do need a motion to accept the communications from the city manager and place
Mayor.
on file. Oh, I'm sorry, Council Elliott.
I wanted to, Council, we received a memo from actually Kelly Hebert regarding Council Murphy's motion on health insurance, and it really is, it's a good report, Mr. Manager. It really frames up a lot of the issues, a lot of the concerns, a lot of the challenges that we have with such a large budget item. So I wanted to ask my colleagues if it was okay if we could refer this to the Finance Subcommittee to have a discussion on so many of the issues that you outlined in here.
Motion by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Broderick to refer the report on the health insurance to the Finance Subcommittee. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Mr. Manager?
If I could just be happy to sit down with the Finance Subcommittee and go over this, but also I think that we didn't fully address everything that Councilor Murphy was looking for, and so we'll be getting a supplemental report to this as well regarding the different options that we have or that we'd explore if we could, if given changes in state law with regards to plan design. This went in the packet just so that we would have that out there to the council. The council would see you know, how we set those rates, but I think Councilor Murphy was also looking for more detail on some of the alternatives that we would be looking at. So we'll have, that will be a supplemental report to this, and that is appropriate, I think, to go to the Finance Subcommittee as well.
That's fine, Mr. Manager. If I could also,
Yes,
Mayor,
Council Elliott.
Madam Auditor, could you give us some information on the performance, or not so much performance, but the Health Insurance Trust Fund, you know, the premiums, you know, what premiums, what's the city's contribution, and how, you know, what the difference is. And I know you do reference the state law in here, and there are some pretty strict requirements on that trust fund. So I think that'll be helpful to put everything into perspective. And so, you know, as we look and as the manager looks to try to get our arms around these health insurance costs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilor Murphy?
Thank you. We did receive another report from Gunther Wellerstein on the automated waste collection, and I just refer that, I think, to the Environmental Subcommittee. We do have a meeting next week, Tuesday at 5:30. That's the 26th, I think. And so most of the discussion will be about this in a previous motion I made back in January.
Okay. Motion by Councilor Murphy, seconded by Councilor Caulfield to refer the report on the automated solid waste collection system to the Environmental Subcommittee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, vote. Anything else under communication? The motion would be in order to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Mendonça, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, to vote. Thank you. Next item, out-of-state travel. We have 3 out-of-state travel items this evening. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rarely ever question any out-of-state travel, but I don't know if this is a typo. If it's not a typo, I have questions. The police officer who traveled to Marion, Connecticut, the hotel was $250 per night, per person. Is that so? Is that, you know, what happened to Motel 6? That's the case.
Council, I will have to get back to you on that. I will get back to you
Well,
on
can we hold up the vote on this to find out,
can
we get
hold up the vote.
some clarification? I mean, I very really question an out-of-state travel, but $250 a night for a hotel has to be the Ritz-Carlton or something of that magnitude.
It was, I believe it was one night. It already happened. It was one night, and it happened on May 3rd.
Right, there was
It's already...
this was a meeting with the DEA cross-border
It
initiative.
says $250 per night per person.
I understand.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
That's why-
This was a, my understanding of this is that it was a, something that came about, and That's why it's coming in after the fact, that it was a last-minute thing. But let me check on that, Counselor, and we'll
please?
get
Thank
back
you.
to you.
So are we pulling this one from the vote this evening? Okay. So now we have two before us this evening. Any other questions, comments? Councilman Mendonça?
I'm just concerned about the one that's coming in after the fact, so just, my statement is, let's avoid that in the future, or I may not vote for it. Thank you.
If I may, generally, it's it's of emergency nature that it's necessitated that we go, and then I think there've only been 2 or 3 in the last 3 or 4 years, but I agree with you.
I could understand if it was out of the city's control, but let us know that in the letter. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the 2 out-of-state travels indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, to vote. Thank you. We'll get a clarification on the other one, bring that back. Next item, in city council vote, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement, with Daniel and Diane Mastercoris to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 48 Bradley Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Be it voted by the city council of the city of Lowell as follows. That the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a license agreement with Daniel and Diane Mastercoris to encroach upon the city of Lowell property for an overhanging carport at 48 Bradley Street, which is an unaccepted street. Said carport would encroach to the extent of, and more particularly described in Exhibit A and shown in Exhibit B attached hereto and made a part of this license agreement. The construction and material for said carport must be approved by the Inspectional Services Department. Said license shall be predicated upon adequate insurance coverage, which coverage shall be kept in force so long as said encroachment continues under this license, and that in the event of a sale or transfer of said property, that said license shall be assignable or transferable to any successor of the license herein, subject to the provisions of said license agreement. In the event that said insurance coverage shall be canceled or lapses without being renewed or replaced, then said license hereunder shall be forthwith terminated, and licensee shall have to cease and desist from said encroachment. Said license shall be in accordance with the form or substantially the form attached hereto. Second reading by title. In city council vote, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Daniel and Diane Mastercoris to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 48 Bradley Street, Lowell, Mass. Any questions?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Murphy. Roll call.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. In city council vote, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Kamlesh Patel, trustee of J&K Realty Trust owner and SP Entertainment tenant, to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 2535 Market Street, Lowell, Mass. Be it voted by the city council of the city of Lowell as follows, that the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a license agreement with Kamlesh Patel, trustee of J&K Realty Trust owner and SP Entertainment Incorporated tenant, to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 2535 Market Street for an overhanging sign to the extent of, and more particularly described in Exhibit A attached hereto and made part of this license agreement. Said license shall be predicated upon adequate insurance coverage, which coverage shall be kept in force so long as said encroachment continues under this license, and that in the event of a sale or transfer of said property, that said license shall be assignable or transferable to any successor of the license herein, subject to the provisions of said license agreement. In the event that said insurance coverage shall be canceled or lapses without being renewed or replaced, then said license hereunder shall be forthwith terminated, and licensee shall have to cease and desist from said encroachment. Said license shall be in accordance with the form or substantially the form attached hereto. Second reading by title. In city council vote, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Kamlesh Patel, trustee of J&K Realty Trust owner and SP Entertainment Incorporated tenant, to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 2535 Market Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. What's the wish of the council?
Move for approval.
Councilor Caulfield, motion by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Dakota. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Dakota?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Mendonça?
Yes.
Councilor Mercia?
Yes.
Mayor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next item, in city council ordinance. An ordinance amending the code of ordinance, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 20 entitled Departments by striking out in its entirety Article 2, Inspectional Services. Section 20-5 to 20-11, and further striking out sections of Article 8, Health Department, specifically subsection B1 of Section 20 to 42, entitled Code Enforcement Division and other similar subsections, and substituting therefore a new Article 2, Department of Planning and Development, and further amending Article 3, Department of Public Works, by striking out Section 20-18 entitled Electrical Division, and substituting therefore a new subsection entitled Division of Lands and Building. Motion by Council Mendoza, seconded by Council Caulfield to waive the full reading. All those in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Vote. This actually is going to be referred to a public hearing. If I can just ask this, Mr. Manager, we're looking to get approval from the council to have a special meeting on June 1st.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. The request would be, and I know that Councilor Dakota has a subcommittee meeting scheduled that night at 5:30. The school committee has a meeting that night at 7 o'clock, public hearing at 7 o'clock. So it'd be possible to sort of juggle the subcommittee meeting if we could meet at 5:30. The purpose being so that we can get this vote on this reorganization plan and reform of this department, and also give us an opportunity to bring the budget in at that time to present to the council, so that then the council can take up the budget on the 8th of June, so that we can get that done as quickly as possible as well.
This will be on a Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, that's correct. That's correct. So the thought was if Councilor Dakota could accommodate the request by moving the subcommittee to say 4:30, we would do this at 5:30, and then the school committee would be in here at 7. So we would have basically an hour and a half to have a public hearing.
So this meeting is at 5:30?
5:30, correct.
I just have one question for the manager on this reorganization. Mr. Manager, and I read your communication, and you have indicated you're going to bring on 2 new people, 2 vacant positions.
Right.
What would the anticipated salary be for those 2 new people?
I think it depends on, perhaps, I think if you're speaking of the deputy director.
Deputy director and the associate planner.
Okay, Mr. Baker, do you have those numbers, those rough numbers?
The associate planner is not a new position. That's a position that's currently occupied by Aaron Clausen in the DPD. So that wouldn't be a significant change. The proposed deputy director's salary would be similar but slightly below the salary of the existing deputy director in the Division of Planning and Development, based on the higher level of experience with the existing person.
That salary is?
I don't know the exact number, but I believe that her salary is in the mid-80s. Right. This would be below that level.
If I could, the dollar, and I don't have the expecting this just to go to a public hearing. We'll have a presentation, obviously, to the council at that time. The actual cost of this restructuring, reorganization, is roughly the same as what the cost would be if we left everything as is. And the total headcount is the same as if we left everything as is. So we're not actually adding to the headcount, and we're not actually increasing any. There's no additional costs. Having said that, I've been very clear there is no major savings to this either. Initially, we do think that long-term there will be savings with this restructuring. We also think that there's increased revenue that will result from this restructuring.
Well, I remember in years past in the budget, the deputy director of planning development was cut from the budget. Is that so?
It was not funded. It was
Wasn't funded.
Right. It was the
So we're
position
bringing
was
that,
left in.
we're
The
bringing
position was
that salary back, so there is an added cost.
again, when we make the full presentation to the council,
Yeah.
you will see how that comes out.
But we are bringing on a new person, new salary.
But we're eliminating some other total positions. We're not filling other positions.
So what we're looking for is permission from the council to have a special meeting, because as you all know, June, July, August, and September, we're on our summer schedule, so we would have a special meeting on June 1st at 5:30 to take up this public hearing. Motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Broderick. I guess I would also like to suggest that we give the city clerk authorization to publish a public hearing notice for the budget for June 8th, because if we're getting it on June 1st, we still need to advertise the notice for the public hearing. So, public hearing for the budget on June 8th. If we want to say, open the public hearing for the budget at maybe 5 o'clock on June 8th, have that for a couple of hours prior to, for an hour and a half, because we actually have a meeting at 6:30. So we could have the budget hearing for an hour and a half and then go into the meeting, and then if we need to continue, which we most likely will, continue the budget debate at the regular meeting, if that's the wish of the council, if you want to do it just.
This will be considered a special meeting.
June
Because-
1st, not June 8th. June
Right.
8th is a,
Right.
well, excuse me, you're right. I mean, June 8th at 5:30 would be
We don't have a
public hearing for the
scheduled
budget.
meeting, so we're going to
Correct.
have a special meeting.
Correct. That's
So
correct.
It's a
That's
special meeting.
We still got to post a notice though, right?
Post a notice of the public hearing, correct.
Motion to authorize the clerk to post a notice.
Motion to authorize the clerk by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Mendonça, to post a notice for the public hearing.
Now, this public hearing is on the budget, the city budget, that you're going to be receiving on the night of the special meeting.
Right.
June 1st, correct. Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed,
Aye.
it's a vote. Thank you. Last item under the city manager, we have a loan order. In city council loan order, Rogers School roof to borrow $1,360,000 to remove and dispose of the existing damaged roof in the Rogers School and to replace it with the new asphalt-based roof and to perform any ancillary work necessary to install the new roof. It is ordered by the city council of the city of Lowell by a two-thirds vote as follows. Ordered that the sum of $1,360,000 is appropriated to pay costs for installing a new roof on the Rogers School and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, that to meet the appropriation of the treasurer with the approval of the city manager is authorized to borrow $1,360,000 under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 70B, and any other enabling authority, that the treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify under Chapter 44A of the General Laws, any and all of the bonds, and to provide such information and execute such documents as the Municipal Finance Oversight Board may require for these purposes, and that the city manager is authorized to take any other action necessary to carry out the project. Order recommended, introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, city manager. This gets referred to a public hearing on June 8th. Council Martin, refer to public hearing on June 8th, seconded by Council Mercia. Council Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no doubt that this is a necessary repair. However, for the public hearing, or maybe in advance, I know during my time as mayor, I think toward the end, the school committee made a presentation to the council of a capital budget with capital needs, with a priority, including a number of critical needs, of which the heating system at the Riley School was not one. Yet, 6 months later, we had, kids wearing jackets and coats at the Riley School. And so that became, leapfrogged the process. Now, this is a roof repair at the Rogers School, and I'd just like to know where that fits. If there were other needs that were more critical than that this is now leapfrogged ahead of, and if so, how reliable was that
list.
report, and whether we have other things that are coming along in the pipeline and what we plan to do about those.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Council, it's an excellent question and point. This one I would say did leapfrog. The reason it did is during a recent windstorm, the roof actually was blown up. And it's at a point now that it needs to be, these repairs, this replacement needs to take place. Otherwise, it's just being, basically held down with buckets at this point in time. So, but I think the point is a good one, that there should be reasons we don't follow the capital plan specifically.
Councilor Murphy, then Councilor Mercia.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager. It did mention in the report that there were areas that weren't particularly damaged. The lower roofs were in fair condition. And so I think probably coming back with more than just the option of redoing the whole roof, because you do have It was listed as an 18-year roof so far, and of course there's some embodied value in that if it is going to last what it's supposed to for the 30 years. So whether or not that value exceeds the cost of doing it right now, I think would be important. The other part of it, I think, is the type of roof is listed as a asphalt with aggregate thrown in, and whether or not there will be any energy savings because of that. You know, have we looked at so-called cool roofs that actually reflect more of the sun's rays and protect the membranes so that they do last much longer? And the other part of it was, in the last few weeks, we did have some discussion about stormwater management and whether, if we do go forward with an entire roof, whether it wouldn't be useful to look at potentially doing a green roof there, because you do have, a 50-year estimate of green roofs lasting that long, because you have 2 to 3 times, again, the membrane being protected from the UV rays. You have 2 to 3 times the potentially outlasting the normal rubber roof. So I think there ought to be some more options available before we decide on doing the entire roof.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Mr. Manager. How did we derive at this figure, 1.3 million? Did we have estimates of people coming in, given different, not bids, but estimates as to what the cost would be?
DPW contacted a roof manufacturer to get an estimate. And
contacted a roof manufacturer,
Right.
manufacturer
Roof
of the
installer.
products?
Yeah.
How does that justify the cost that he perceives it to be when he's selling the product? Wouldn't you think he would say, gee, they're going to need 35 gallons of this?
Well, it has to be bid out anyway. But
I know that.
That's when we try to obtain funding for any major project. The first step is to get somebody in the business to come in and give us a rough estimate. We don't ask them to go to a level of detail that would prohibit them from bidding at some point. You have to be careful, because they would get an unfair advantage. But we need to get enough information to be able to build specs to put it out to bid.
So you got this information by one company?
Right. We basically, what we do is we bring someone in just to give us. There's several different ways you can do this. You can go to a company that does this and say, give us a price. But generally, it's a company that we're familiar with, that we've used on other projects. Or we can hire an architect to come in and give us a price. That, of course, costs money. And then, so all we're doing is we're getting a price to put forward for a loan order, which we then use to actually go out and hire an architect or a designer to come in and give us the necessary specifications, which we then put out to bid in a very competitive bidding process. So the person we don't come in and ask just for one contractor to give us a price that we then sign a contract with. We're just getting an estimate so that we can put something forward to get a loan order through, and then we go off and do the necessary specifications in bidding. This is the way it's always done.
Well, I know if I were going to have my roof done, I think I'd put it out to estimates to, like, roofers that would be doing that.
That's what we're doing.
But you're going to the people that make the product, and they're coming in with it.
It's a roofing company. It's a roofing company that that is giving us the price.
I thought it was the company that supplies the material.
But they have the general sense of what the cost is per square foot to put down a roof.
Before we go through this process right now, Was I reading something in the paper about Steve O'Neill from Tingsboro at the Vogue, where he brought in a proposal about their roof out there, and he got a good type of a scenario whereby I think it's going to be the green roof. It's going to be environmentally sound with.
So I think is what Councilor Murphy asked us to get some pricing on that.
Yes, well, I concur with him. I think before we go any further, that would be a good idea to see where did he go with his proposal, and what, can we do that? Can we look at that option? So that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not an expert on roofing, but I can tell you that the square footage of the Rogers School is 130,000 square feet. It's a huge building, and the building's been there for decades. And how did he develop a cost to put a roof on? It's square footage. They take the square footage of the roof. It's so much a square foot. And I just have is this a rubber roof, Mr. Manager, or an asphalt base?
This is an asphalt roof.
The only question I have is a rubber roof is really the way to go in the 21st century. They've been proven it time and time again that any new buildings are done with a rubber roof. Is there a reason why we're not going with a rubber roof?
Right. We will get a more detailed answer for you on that.
It's very important
Right,
because
right.
Because I worked in industry, and we removed the old asphalt roof.
Put down rubber.
And put down a rubber roof. Why? Because they last longer.
Right.
That's the reason, so.
Thank you. Councilman Donta, then back to Councilor Murphy.
Quick question, getting back to that rubber roof. Did I understand correctly, the existing roof, through the mayor to the city manager, is a rubber roof, and they're replacing it with asphalt? That's what's...
Correct.
Okay. My other question is in one in the backup material, you mentioned $30,000 to repair HVAC units. Is that going to be separate from this loan order, or is that going to be separate? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is that actually a rubber roof it does not last as long. And that's why I bring up the green roof, because it is the exposure to the sun which deteriorates the roof. When you have, it depends on how much soil cover you have, but that can extend the life of the membrane from 2 to 3 times longer than the actual rubber roof. The other reason why I raise this point is because you then have also the potential for energy savings, because both during and now that the Rogers School is being used year-round, that becomes more important for both air conditioning in the summer and heating in the winter. And then, as I say, you have the stormwater management that is a cost to the city down the road. If we're replacing roofs every 18 years, in a 90-year period, you're replacing 5 roofs rather than say 3, or if you go the route of a green roof, perhaps 2 or less. So that was the purpose of raising that point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. In the future, it would probably make sense that if we can get this type of analysis between the traditional or conventional, what we've done in the past, replacement versus the green, because it seems like I'm sure it cost prohibitive maybe in some circumstances, but energy-wise and in lifespan may make sense. So if we could maybe get that from through you, from the department heads as they do this analysis, so we have an understanding of what they looked into and what their rationale was. I understand we're just sending this to a public hearing for the loan order, but as we go forward, it probably makes sense to have it on all of them, I guess, basically as a policy.
Right. And if I may, I think the situation here, certainly we've been trying to, City Council's been supportive and has been pushing us to do more with green, and we've been trying to do that as well with the efforts of DPD and the Green Building Commission. And so in this particular case, I think what This has been more of an emergency repair type of situation, but I think that a number of good questions raised tonight that, and I do think, long-term, that's the direction we should be heading. Again, this was more of an emergency nature, but we'll get that information for the council at the next, in time for the loan order.
Anyone else? All those in favor? I'm sorry, Council Martin?
Just when's the public hearing on this?
June 8th. All those in favor of referring the loan order to a public hearing, June 8th, signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Thank you. Subcommittee reports. Do we have any subcommittee reports this evening? Moving on to the motion part of the agenda. The first motion by Councilor Murphy. City Council requests the city manager to report on the parking plan for the back central neighborhood. Second by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The back central neighborhood has I'd say, unique layout, and that raises all kinds of problems, both for residents in the city. Not having the, a lot of off-site parking, and so you get really a lot of competition for the on-street parking. And so this is really, I know the city at some point had been working with the neighborhood to put in place a plan that would, have permitting placards, and I think there are signs up from that. But this is just to get a report on what options the neighborhood has so that we can try and improve that situation.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager to report on the status and condition of the buildings located at 278 Central Street, the corner of Highland Street and Thorndike Street, and Middlesex and School Street. Second by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll keep bringing this motion in every 6 weeks, because I brought this motion in initially 6 weeks ago and wanted some sort of report on these three buildings. The old Farragut Hotel, still sitting there, nothing's been done. The building at the corner of Thorndike and Highland Street, completely, the top of the roof is burnt off. Even the blue tarpaulin is losing its strength, and that's gonna blow away too. It's a disgrace. It's an entrance into our city. And the other building is at the corner of School and Middlesex Street. A gentleman called my house and left a message. He's gonna start working on that house in the spring. Well, the spring is 2 months old. It's a disgrace, Mr. Manager. It's huge condominium, brand new. There's no stairs to it. There's the landscaping. It's disgraceful. So I want some answers on these three buildings. And I'll keep bringing this in every 6 weeks to get that answer.
I believe, if I could, Councilor Caulfield, there was an article in the paper, I think it was last night, about this particular properties causing water damage to the properties on Spring Avenue, which runs parallel.
Those condominiums are?
Correct. This foundation has, displaced the soil to the point that the water table has now changed, that the houses on Spring Avenue, or Spring Street, are now being impacted.
Parking spaces are a rarity in our city. That parcel of land would have been wonderful for off-street parking. Why that building was ever permitted to be built there, I don't know. But it sticks out like a sore thumb, and the developer or the builder is thumbing his nose at us. He's not gonna do a thing. And the spring is 2 months old, so.
Mr. Manager?
We did, Mr. Mayor, we did provide a report to the council just 2 weeks ago, I believe, on these properties and what the status was. And, we'll certainly update as time goes on, but.
I'll just keep bringing it back every 6 weeks. We have a broken record, Mr.
Right.
Manager.
That's fine. You can be a broken record. That's fine. We are certainly doing everything we can under the law, but essentially we have to follow the law on these.
What's the law? What does the law indicate about the building on Highland Street and Thorndike Street with the roof completely gone?
Again, I don't have the report right in front of me, so I don't.
It's been like that for over a year.
I understand. There was a fire at that site, and they're working on that, right? They should be working on that. I agree. I see it all the time. I agree.
You know, it's just, it wouldn't be permitted in other communities. I mean,
Well, I think it would be, Counselor. It's not that we're ignoring the situation.
well, it seems to me like someone's ignoring it, and it's, I go to the YMCA almost every day, and I look at that building, and people are asking me, when are you gonna do something about that building? And it's just, you know.
Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor of the, I'm sorry, Council Martin?
Is the one at Thorndike and Highland, that's not the historic district, or is it? I know the Farragut Hotel is, the Central Street one, but...
The other one is, I don't believe it is. This is the one that Paul Songus was...
Right. Okay.
It's a beautiful home. And it's a shame that the weather is now damaging the building. It's gonna get to the point where it's lost, so.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Council Caulfield. The City Council requests the city manager to report on the repaving of Marshall Avenue after the sewer separation project. Seconded by Council Martin. Council Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. I went up and talked to the residents on that street, and they're gonna do a portion of the street after the sewer separation. And the rest of the street is, like, the Olympics could use it for a testing the device or something. But the street is bad, really bad. And there's all patches all over the place. And whatever you can do with it, Mr. Manager, I appreciate it.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Next motion by Council Mendonça. City Council requests the city manager consider adding fee level for a senior discount on the Norman large trash containers. Is that a typo? Normal. Typo, normal. Second by Councilor Mercia. Right. Just thought it was the name of the trash container. Councilor Mendonça.
Yes, this was at the request of a resident that currently has the smaller container. And actually, no. But his suggestion was that he was complaining to me about the size of the container somehow versus the trash bags leaves voids. Could fit the trash, but he has to fight with it to get it to close. And that if he could pay more, but at a discount for the larger container, he would. So I bring it forth on his behalf.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed is a vote. Councilor Mercia.
I thought you could pay more and get a larger one. It's already in place. If you're a senior and you're getting a discount and you don't want to get the discount, you can opt to get the bigger trash bucket and pay the fee like we all pay. You know that, right?
That's correct. They could pay the normal fee for the larger trash container, if so wished. He was asking that since he's getting the small one at the senior, although from the report we received today, as luck would have it, they explained that there's no really a senior discount. It's really paying that a senior is eligible to pay less for a smaller container.
That's correct.
Right.
But he asked that the city consider having a discounted rate on the larger barrel for seniors. But yes, he could always ask for the larger barrel and pay the normal fee like everyone else.
Right.
Yes.
And that, Councilor Mercia gave the report that I was going to provide. I may have a place in my office for you, Councilor. We will get a more formal report and sort of an explanation of some of that. In retrospect, I think as we look back, it may have been advisable that back when we implemented the plan, that in fact we offered different tiered pricing so that we could have we have a number of people in the city that would like the smaller bins and would like to pay less. And then we have, so I wish that we had gone with that rather than the larger ones we did. We'd see even more of a decrease, actually, I think, in the tonnage that we have. But we'll get a more formal response to the
Thank you.
council.
Again, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed is a vote. Next motion by Councilor Mendonça. Request the Collegiate Partnership Subcommittee meet with representatives of UMass Lowell programs that have internships or practicums that could be mutually beneficial to the city, the university, and the students. Second by Councilor Mercia. We do have someone registered to speak. Mr. Clerk?
Alex Ruthman, 1 University Avenue.
Good evening, and thank you for your patience this evening.
No problem. Good evening. I'm speaking to you as both a resident of Lowell and as assistant professor of music education at UMass Lowell, where I'm deeply involved in a number of partnerships between our music program and the city of Lowell, and specifically with the Lowell schools. I'm speaking tonight in favor of Councilor Mendonca's motion and would like to share with you some details of the impact and value of some of our partnerships that are already in place. Approximately 130 freshmen through graduate music education majors work directly with students and teachers in the Lowell schools each semester through partnership coursework, applied practica, and as student teachers. Our music education program is unique in the country and has garnered national recognition as an innovator in music teacher education due to the unique embedded partnerships we have with the Lowell schools. At least half of the time within each of our music education methods courses is spent in the Lowell schools, where our UMass Lowell students learn to teach alongside Lowell teachers and their students. Our technology and music education classes meet 2 hours a week each fall in the high school MIDI lab, apprentice teaching, digital audio, and group piano courses. Students in our general music methods courses are embedded within 3rd, 6th, or 8th grade classes each Wednesday morning at the Bartlett Community Partnership School for an entire year, gaining valuable hands-on teaching skills through learning to teach with real students. Our music education partnerships are unique at the university in that we can offer and sustain them at no cost to the city of Lowell through embedding our partnership work within our music education coursework. I would also like to mention many of the UMass Lowell music majors involved in our partnerships are here with me tonight in support of this motion, and many of them are also graduates of the Lowell Public School System. For the schools, our partnerships provide positive role models for students reinforcing career pathways realized through finishing high school and continuing on to college. In return, our students benefit from learning real-world teaching experiences through immersion in the realities of teaching within the culturally diverse urban schools of Lowell. Beginning in the fall, we will be offering a new master's degree in community music, which will provide a steady stream of interns and students seeking practicum experiences within the various community cultural organizations of Lowell. In addition to our music education partnerships, numerous formal and informal music business and sound recording technology internships and practica already exist. Our students are active promoting and booking live music at a variety of restaurants and venues in Lowell, as well as at the Space, one of the new recording studios and cafe at the Western Avenue Studios. I cannot stress the importance of these partnerships in promoting the creative economy of Lowell and supporting the students in the Lowell Public Schools. As a representative of one of the UMass Lowell programs that has extensive internships and practica already established, I look forward to meeting with the collegiate subcommittee in exploring how we can not only keep and sustain the vibrant partnerships that already exist, but more importantly, work together with all of you to develop long-term, deep relationships that will strengthen the ties between UMass Lowell and the citizens of Lowell. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ruthman. Thank you. And thank you all for being here this evening. Any, Councilor Mendonca?
Yes, I appreciate Dr. Ruthman's comments and coming here this evening. This actually occurred after I filed the motion. It wasn't, and obviously some of the programs he's talking about have to do with the school system, but it's an example of a program that's in place that's already helping the city. The intent of my motion is to see what other programs there are, certainly here from the music program, it's as important as any other, but what other programs might there be that we could work together on? Obviously, there are students that need internships or practicums, and in that sense, it would help the university, and the city could benefit from by using their talents over a short period of time for a defined task to see what we could do. In the city side, having to do with economic or community development, how can we improve our community, and at the same time, we might be able to use these programs at the university, that again, place students that they have, and we benefit from their work. We could find out more about what the costs involved in it might be. There's some cost sharing, but from what I've heard from the university, it's almost a minimal cost to the city for the ones that do have a cost, and that they're providing tuition for the students, they're providing health insurance and liabilities covered, and we're just basically providing a stipend in the case where there is a stipend. There are some programs like were described here where they're just placing the students to work in the school system without actually any outlay from the city. So there'll be a balancing act that'll have to go on. But the intent of my motion is just to investigate, explore what the possibilities are, and then pass the information on to the city manager or the Department of Planning and Development to see what they can do with those programs that will be, again, mutually beneficial to both and all parties.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia, then the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that Lowell is very rich in ethnic diversity, but it is also a very rich city in partnerships, and we have such very talented people, and we're always looking to match people up with each other and organizations and things. And it's just a shame that all these young, bright, professional young men and women sat here in silence tonight, and we didn't get a chance to see and hear their talent. I'm so sorry we didn't hear you with your instruments and your voice and all that. That's wonderful. But they sat here so proud and quiet, and you got a lesson in government, so that's a good thing as well. So it wasn't really for nothing, and you kept yourself awake. That's a good thing too. But I'm sorry we didn't get to hear your talents, because that would have been wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Mr. Manager? Oh, go ahead.
Just, Counselor, I think this is a great motion to build on the partnerships that we have with the university. I will tell you that we do make quite a bit of use of the university. You've heard about the music programs that tied in with the schools. My office right now, we have 2 of the RESD program students. I know that, and we've used just other students in the past in internships. DPD has, again, a couple of RESD students now and has in the past, and the police department generally uses many of the criminal justice. So I think it is a resource that we should definitely be taking advantage of more, and I welcome the opportunity to meet with the collegiate subcommittee to discuss that and discuss ways that we could in fact build upon that. I know that Professor Ferrant at the and Professor Wooding at the university have been pushing this idea for some time, and it's one that I can tell you the administration certainly supports as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Martin, then Councilor Broderick, and then back to the maker of the motion.
I was just going to say, we did get to hear some of the entertainment on the way into the building tonight, so thank you for the students for performing there.
Yes, thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good motion. I think in addition to, the city, UMass Lowell, and the students, I think it also, there is a program, and I'm not sure if it's Startup or Gear Up, run by a woman named Lenore, that I actually had 2 interns last year, and one was able to stay on and continue working part-time, high school students. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to integrate and mix with the private sector as well, and give these kids an opportunity to get out in the world and experience what it's like to work in an office or a restaurant or whatever the field they have an interest in. So I think that's important as well. Obviously, there's other organizations, maybe the CVB, that could use the benefit of an intern as well. But I think that there's a use in the private sector, and I think that's another good mix in the way we work these partnerships. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Mendoza.
I was just going to acknowledge that I had heard him play as Councilor Martin did.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, it's a vote. Again, thank you all for being here this evening. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you at the subcommittee. Last motion of the evening, City Council requests the city manager to report and make recommendation on adding alternates to additional city boards. Motion by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's pretty simple. The only board I'm aware of is the ZBA that has alternates. I was on the planning board for years, and I often wondered, and with the recent tragic and untimely death of Mr. Knox, it was beneficial to have one. I know in the past there's been a cost of insurance and the stipends, but I believe that's gone. I didn't know if it makes sense or what the process would be to look at what other boards may benefit. You know, sometimes it takes a 4 out of 5 vote, and if you're down a member for an extended illness or something else, it can cause a problem in the backlog and moving things through the boards.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote? Motion to adjourn by Councilor,
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Caulfield.
Just a brief comment. Lowell General Hospital, she should be complimented about the excellent teamwork to combat cancer Sunday. They raised $700,000. There's 3,500 people who participated. I know you were there, Councilor Broderick, Councilor Martin, and I also...
Councilor Elliott.
Oh, Councilor Elliott, yes, Councilor Elliott passed me on the Vergaropoulos Bridge. But it's just wonderful to see the community coming out with a great spirit, determination to beat this dreaded disease. And they should be applauded for all their efforts.
Thank you.
All the volunteers, too, that
Oh, I know.
worked tirelessly.
Thank you for bringing that up. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lowell General's had a big week. Councilor Martin and I were out at the groundbreaking this evening on the expansion out there, a $75 million expansion, bed tower, and all to help serve the community, can increase their ability to serve the community. And they announced that they expect that they're going to exceed $750,000 for the Cancer Walk when all said and done. So it's been a good week for them out on the boulevard.
Perfect, thank you. Councilor Martin?
Just to briefly comment on the walk Sunday, because I know that a friend of mine, Steve Normanden's been the chair now 2 years in a row, and I know he puts a lot of effort into it, as do many other people. But and maybe it's just because it's in such a small area behind the arena. I know we have quite a bit of people come into the city for the Folk Festival and other festivals, but to watch, I mean, it took 25 minutes for the people to just make it past the starting line.
Correct.
Twice, you know, once at 9 and once at 10. I just can't remember seeing that many people in downtown Lowell. It was quite remarkable, and congratulations to everybody who participated. Really, it was a wonderful event.
Thank you. Anything else? Motion by Councilor Mercy, a second by Councilor Mendonça to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed to vote. Thank you, and good evening.